Welcome back to the UFC Pros Pick Show. I am James Lynch. He is James Krause, and we got Nick Kalikas back here this week. A really exciting card coming up here. First pay-per-view of the year, UFC 270. And before we get into all the action, we got to remind you guys to make sure you sign up with BetDSI. That's the odds we're going to be using here today. Not only do you get the match deposit bonus if you use the code word UFC, but you also get a signed James Krause photo. No one's doing that out there. Let's be honest here, people. Tremendous value watching this show for free and also getting advantage of the promo code, which is great. So again, sign up right now. It's not going to be around forever, so make sure you sign up as soon as you can and let us know, how your picks do as well. We want to hear from you too, which would be great. Also got to talk about last week's bets. We did quite well here. James Krause, you were on TJ Brown. He came through and got it done over Charles Rosa. We both like Caitlin Chukagian by decision. That hit as well. I did the parlay of Chukagian by decision along with Court McGee and Ramiz going the distance. That hit as well. And then also we had the over in the main event, which hit too. So good week. Let's see if we can keep it going. Perfect record going into week 2 of the UFC schedule. And we got a banger here. And we'll start right in the main event. UFC 270, Anaheim, California, Honda Center. We've got the undisputed heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, taking on the interim champion, Ciryl Gane. This is razor close. The former teammates. Francis Ngannou, the underdog right now at plus 129. The comeback on Ciryl Gane, minus 149. Before we dig into this fight, let's hear what some of the fighters have to say and give their thoughts on this epic heavyweight fight.
That's a very interesting fight. Former two teammates, and I think, probably a lot of guys would say Francis Ngannou, but we saw Ciryl Gane is a very high-level fighter with a high fighting IQ, and if he can make miss Francis with the big power shots and outstrike him, I think Ciryl can get the W.
Yeah, I honestly don't know because, there's former training partners, but, I think Gane, his head coach is now, or was Francis's, so I don't know if they're going to have any kind of insight about what they were doing. But, you can make the argument that was however many years ago. Francis is a completely different fighter now. And then you got to see about how Francis's attitude is coming into this fight, with the whole UFC trying to, make the interim and all that. So we'll see. I think that if Ciryl can, stay at range, keep his distance, I think that he'll be able to pick Francis apart, kind of like what he did to Derek Lewis. I don't think that Francis, can close that gap without getting hit. And I think that Francis, I just don't think his wrestling is going to be good enough to take Ciryl down. So we'll see.
I don't know. Gane, he's got some power, but Ngannou, man, he can hit you with one little shot on the tip of the nose and put you to sleep. I think it's going to be difficult, man, for both, but I'm going to lean towards a man Ngannou.
So there you have it. Fighters giving their take on a really awesome fight, but let's hear from James Krause first. James, who you liking in the main event?
I think from a skill perspective, that Ciryl Gane is probably the better fighter. I think he is the better fighter. He's more technical. He's probably a better wrestler. He's probably a better striker. He's probably better cardio. Probably the same athlete. But it's hard to bet against Francis. He's just got to touch you. He's got the death touch, both hands. So I'll break this down. Like, let's just go a little bit past that. The one thing that I like about Ciryl Gane that nobody talks about, obviously it's the X factor in all of this is Francis Ngannou's power. I'm not trying to dismiss that at all. That's still a very real thing, obviously. But let's talk about some things that not just the casual fan might know. And that's what Ciryl Gane brings to the table, because essentially Ngannou's the champion. We know what he brings to the table. He's going to knock your head off. We know that. He's very good. But when we talk about Ciryl Gane, one of the things that people don't talk about is his footwork. And he's very agile, moves very well, controls range really well for a heavyweight, and is very, very difficult to hit clean. He's fought some really good strikers, Volkov, Derek Lewis. One's a power puncher, kind of a brawler. The other's very, very technical, long striker. He's dispersed both of those guys, no problem. He has a very, very well-rounded game in grappling and striking. He's very dangerous in both of those. He can submit you, and he can also knock you out. So I really like Gane's ability to control range and his footwork and to make Ngannou miss. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of heavyweights bring to the table, is a very, very technical aspect where they can move around, not get hit. He's very defensively sound. He's got a very, very educated lead hand. He really, honestly, he's a complete package. He's just, you don't see a lot of guys like Ciryl Gane at heavyweight. Those guys are, you typically don't have to be good at heavyweight. You know what I mean? You can get away with it with good wrestling, or a specialty guy can usually get the job done. But Ciryl Gane is the real deal. He's good everywhere. ... Ngannou's got the death touch.
There we go. Nick, what are you seeing with the line movement on this one? I believe Ngannou actually opened as the favorite in the lines flip, but what are you seeing on the betting lines?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. By the way, my preview, predictions, all that stuff, my bets can be given out on UFC On the Line. So that's where you can find myself, Yanni the Greek, and of course, Brendan Fitzgerald. We did the UFC On the Line for UFC 270. So I urge you guys to go over to UFC Fight Pass and check it out. That's where all my breakdowns, picks, and everything will be. But as far as line movement goes, you're right. It's interesting because Ngannou did open the favorite. The line flipped. I opened Gane a slight favorite. Immediately, we saw sharp action come in at the sports books on the Gane side, and it caused us to raise the line a little bit. And then once the line settled about minus 135, we got more sharp action on Gane, a decent amount of sharp action as well. And the line climbed to like minus 150, minus 160. It got as high as minus 165. Then we did see some sharp action come back in and take a bite. Of course, Ngannou at plus 145 is definitely tempting out there for a lot of people. So the line settling back down to minus 155, minus 150, market wide out there. That's what you're seeing. That's what James just touched on. So yeah, it's intriguing for sure. There's been a lot of action coming in on the Gane side, but again, we are going to see a ton of action flowing back in on Ngannou as well.
Such a great fight, and what a way to kick off the pay-per-view schedule of the UFC. This is a tough one for me. You know, when this fight first got announced, I was definitely leaning on the Ngannou side, just based off that performance he had over Stipe Miocic, who I think is maybe arguably the best heavyweight of all time, at least the best in the UFC. It was just an incredible run that he was on, and for Ngannou to beat him the way he did in such a dominant fashion in that rematch, I was very much blown away. And I think you've seen a new Ngannou since being with Eric Nicksick and training at Extreme Couture. We've seen a much different fighter than the one that was under Fernand Lopez, but which was also Ciryl Gane's coach, which is interesting in this fight. But the closer we're getting to the fight, and I know people might kind of look at this and say, I don't know if this is going to mean anything, but there's been a lot of issues with Francis in the UFC, you know, both from booking the interim title fight to the contract issues he's had sort of leading into this. I've talked to some fighters about this. That's got to be a bit of a distraction going into this fight, because if Ngannou wins this fight, there's some leverage. If he doesn't, there's obviously some other stuff that could happen there with his future. And, you know, he's been talking a lot about pay. And I just think that to me is a bit of a distraction in a fight like this. Combine that with the fact, like Krause mentioned, you don't see fighters with the type of fight IQ that Ciryl Gane has. He's a tactician. I didn't expect Ciryl Gane to finish Derek Lewis in that last fight, but the fact that he did, I think elevated his game even more. And the key thing that we're seeing with Gane is he's getting better every fight. Remember the criticism in the Rosenstruik fight? It was boring. This is a point fighter. He proved all those doubters wrong in the Lewis fight. And don't be surprised if Gane's able to show us an even better version than we're going to see here on Saturday night. He's not afraid of Francis's power, and he's smart enough, I think, to not get hit by a guy like Francis. As much as, you know, Ngannou could put anyone to sleep in any fight, but I think he's fighting a guy who's too smart, too tactical, who's in the prime of his career. And the other thing we haven't even talked about, these guys are almost the same size. So I think it's not an issue of one will have a reach advantage over the other. I think Gane's going to go in there, be very patient, very smart. It might even be a little bit boring early on, but I think Gane's going to pick his shots when he needs to. And I think that's where Francis is going to get frustrated and get in a little bit of trouble. And I think Gane's going to either take home a decision or maybe a late finish. Call me crazy here, but I think this could be a very much a chess match in this fight with everything that's gone into this, from the UFC versus Francis to them being former teammates. I think there's a lot going into this, but I'm going with the favorite here with Ciryl Gane. Again, I have a lot of reason to pick Francis here, but I think Gane is just too smart of a fighter to fall for any traps that Ngannou has. Krause, is you nodding your head or disagreeing? Let's see what you have to say about that.
No, I mean, dude, it's you know what's crazy is like this is one of those fights to me where the line is, I don't think there's a bad pick. Like if we're talking about from a betting perspective, I mean, when you start getting up to like 165, 170, I don't really like that too much. But like where we've seen it sit most of the time, I don't think there's a bad play here. I think everybody agrees that Ciryl Gane is the better fighter. But you know what I mean? But in Gane, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be the better fighter here, and that's why we love the sport, right? And I have been guilty of counting out Ngannou before, you know, and I'm kind of trying to watch my P's and Q's because I thought Stipe was going to get him the second time around. You know, I thought he would do really well. I thought he'd wrestle a little bit better, and Francis showed fast improvement. So I agree with everything that you're saying, but obviously I don't think any of us three disagrees that I mean, would any of you guys be surprised if we walked away with another Francis Ngannou knockout? Nah,
No,
probably
no,
not.
not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
It's just that's always going to be there for him, and you can't dismiss that. The ability to end a fight like that is very, very valuable at this level.
And just last thing I'll say, I mean, you look at the fact that he finished Lewis in his last fight, and I know Chris Daukaus is not Ciryl Gane, but I think that win aged quite well considering what Lewis was able to do in his last fight and put him out. And Francis, you could argue, has got similar or better power than Derek Lewis. And I think the only difference between the two is I think Francis is not only younger, but he's also a lot faster than Lewis is. So again, there's a lot of things to sort of look at this, but I would not be surprised if we're sitting here next week talking about Ngannou getting another finish here, because that's what he does best. Now the co-main event's very interesting here. The trilogy fight between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. And right now, looking at the odds, we have Moreno as the favorite at minus 175. The comeback on Figueiredo plus 150. Nick, we'll start with you first, just with the movement here. I think a lot of people from who I've talked to as well, a lot of people have been on Moreno here. Has the line changed much since it opened?
I opened it pretty high. I opened it almost where it is right now. We have gotten a little bit of sharp action, towards the Moreno side. So I'm kind of keeping it on the higher end market wide. And I do think it's right. I bet Moreno both times, both of the first two matches. Obviously, he was a decent underdog. The line was just overpriced. I know the first time we were kind of fortunate getting that draw because Figueiredo did edge out that decision. But the second time, we saw the difference. We saw the improvements in his game. So, I mean, Moreno has been a moneymaker for me personally. So I think the line is justified right now from what we've seen recently. He deserves to be a solid favorite, right? But again, another similar situation to the Ngannou-Gane fight, where at the current price, we are going to see a ton of action come back in on Figueiredo. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this line drop a little bit by fight time because of the amount of action that's going to come in. People thinking maybe last time it was a fluke or so for Moreno to get the W. So this is another spot where, I mean, if anybody's comparable to Ngannou in the heavyweight division, it's Figueiredo in the flyweight division. I mean, this guy is nasty. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. So he's always got that finishing ability for sure. But I think Moreno deserves to be the favorite. Like I said, early on, sharp action does agree, but I think it's another case where we're going to see two-way sharp action, and we're going to see the public come in and take a bite on that dog for sure.
Krause, who are you picking in this one?
I like Moreno. It's kind of funny because I feel like in the last week, everybody's like just changed their mind all of a sudden, and I'm starting to like question, you know what I mean? Like, oh, he's at fight ready. And of course, all these things are a factor. I just don't think 4 months is enough time. You know what I mean? He's been there for 4 months. I just don't think it's enough time. And I think Deiveson Figueiredo was one of those guys to where this mystique carried him through a lot, like Jose Aldo until Conor got rid of him. Renan Barão at one point. Like, all these guys have this mystique, and like everybody's like terrified of these guys. And Figueiredo had that, and then I think when Moreno came in, took his best shots, kept coming, drew him, and then hurt him, and then submitted him. I think that we slowly seen a progressive confidence builder for Moreno, saying, hey, man, I've taken this guy's best shot. I'm better than him on the ground. As the fight progresses, I'm going to get better. He's going to slow down. And I just think that you're kind of seeing a shift of the I guess the changing of the guard, if you will, you know what I mean? And I don't want to dismiss Figueiredo. I think he's incredible. He's an incredible athlete. He's got probably the biggest puncher at 125 in the division. I can't think of anybody else, but I'm picking Brandon Moreno. I think he's going to get it done. I don't know if he's going to finish this time. I think Figueiredo is going to have his stuff together a little bit better this time. I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll probably look a little bit closer to the first fight they had. I see Brandon pulling away a little bit more though.
Yeah, you pretty much broke down how I see this fight going as well. I think it's going to be much more competitive than the second fight. Look, say what you want. Was Figueiredo training? I know he had weight issues, all this stuff. I like that he's at
he's
fight
always
ready.
got weight issues though, right?
I know exactly. I think the fight ready move's a good one. I did have a chance to speak to Eddie Cha before this fight. He was, glowing about, just how he's fitting with the team and everything. And that's obviously encouraging. Quick note, Brandon Royval was supposed to be on standby for this fight. As of just us hopping on here, he's now been told not to be the backup because I guess like they were worried about Figueiredo's weight. So apparently that, I guess his weight's good, which I think we knew was going to happen with him being at a solid camp like Fight Ready and just being ready, no pun intended. So with all that said, the way I look at this fight is this: Figueiredo's going to have more power. I think Moreno's going to be a little bit faster, a little bit more tactical. I don't think we'll see him. I don't think we'll see Moreno finish Figueiredo because I think he'll be in better shape this time and he'll be more of the Figueiredo we've seen in the past. And I think Moreno is just going to go out there and I think he's got his number. I think Moreno figured him out in that second fight, and I think we're going to see that in this one. I do have a play in this fight, which which I'll mention a little bit later. But I'm also going with Brandon Moreno in this fight. How could you not? I really just think there's a lot of I think he's in the prime right now, and I think he's going to go take care of business in this fight and get it done in the co-main event. Before we go to our next little bit of the show, we're going to hear from some of the fighters and get their picks on the co-main event.
Ooh, Moreno. I don't know, because I just love Moreno. I think he's just like such a cool dude.
I'm gonna go with the champ. I'm gonna go with the champ on that one as well.
I don't know, man. I don't really know how I see that fight playing out, and you don't ever know what to take of like when Figgy's like, I didn't even train for that fight. I was opening my businesses and stuff. It's like, I don't know what to make out of someone if it's just bullshit or like if it is real, you know. And it's like I really have no clue what to make out of either one of them. But it didn't seem like Figgy did anything that second fight, you know, and it was just a little weird. If it was okay, $500, I would put it on Moreno.
I give it to the champ because the champ really showed last time that he really improved in the fight, and also Figueiredo has a hard time cutting that weight from what he said the last time he fought. So once again, it's another mixed martial arts fight. We can see what happens.
Okay, so there you have it. Everyone unanimously picking Brandon Moreno. Yeah, we are here too. Let's get to our prop bet of the week. Krause, what are you liking here prop wise for UFC 270?
I'm gonna take. I actually have two that I'm gonna play, and yeah, we'll just go with two. I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling greedy. This one's a little chalky, and I think the reason why I'm picking two is because one of them's super chalky. And I know how the dorks on here, the sharps. Oh, of course he picks it. So I'm gonna go with Cody Stamann and Said Nurmagomedov over. I think that's gonna go over. I just don't see a situation where either one of those guys finish the other. I think they're both incredibly talented, and yeah, I see that hit. And I think you said that's like maybe a shade over -300 at the moment.
Yeah, it's like -313 or something right now.
Yeah. I still see that hitting. And my second one is I'm going to go Rodolfo Vieira by submission. I know Rodolfo is like -200, I think, right now. So I don't know what the line is, the prop line is on the sub, but it's got to be better than that. I'm guessing it's probably slight plus money. Probably plus 125-ish is what if I had to guess. If he's going to win, if you're saying, hey, if Vegas is telling me, hey, he's going to win, it's probably going to be by submission. I know he won his last fight by decision, I believe, but I see him getting back to his old ways here.
Yeah, it is plus money as I'm seeing it right here with the submission prop. So not a bad play there for your prop of the week. My prop of the week is going to be the over in the co-main event. The over for Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno is at -118. I think this fight's going the distance. If you want to get even more greedy on this one, maybe the fight does go the distance, although there is that risk of the late finish. But we hit the over last week. I'm going with the over this week for our prop bet and taking this one. So I think this is pretty good value at -118 for the co-main event. Now let's get to our bet of the week. Krause, curious to hear your pick on this card for your bet of the week.
Man, this is a really tough one for me. I don't have anything that I'm just like truly in love with. So I'm going to tell you what I played early, and that is Brandon Moreno straight up. I played him at -160-ish, minus maybe 155. I don't remember where I played it at, but like that was the one that I played last week that really stuck out to me that I was like, I feel pretty good about this one. There are a couple other ones, and I'll start throwing a few out. And I played this. I think Cody Stamann's being extremely disrespected on the lines here. I really like him as an underdog. I know we don't have an underdog play of the week, but if we did, that would be the one that I would pick. I think he's being extremely disrespected on the lines, and I think he's more than capable of winning this fight. I really do. So, and then if you guys want to get crazy, you could parlay Cody Stamann and the over, and I'm sure you could get some really good plus money and maybe get like one of those cheater bets that's, you know what I mean, like $100 wins 1,000 or something like that. You know, you get one of those. So there's nothing that I'm in love with, but Brandon Moreno's is my play of the week this week.
Yeah, and if you wanted to get creative, you could do Brandon Moreno, parlay that with the over in the Stamann fight, like you mentioned there. I think there's some serious value there.
So we call that round. I call it round robbining. Like, if there's
of course.
That I love with, I just pop them together usually, and you get good value out of them.
My bet of the week is actually an underdog. A fight we haven't even talked about. It's on the prelims. Jasmine Jazevidius is making her UFC debut. She's currently plus 200 against Kay Hansen. I don't know if you've looked at it. Jasmine has a nice height and reach advantage in this fight. And Jasmine's someone who I know has been spending a lot of time at Syndicate MMA. She's getting to train with a lot of those girls over there, like, Emily Whitmire, Roxanne Modafferi. There's a good camp over there, girls. And also back home in Niagara, she was training with Ashley Nichols. If that name sounds familiar, Lion Fight kickboxer. She's also competed in TKO and MMA as well. Just a really good striker. I think Jasmine's being a little bit disrespected on the lines here. Kay Hansen's a very popular fighter on social media and for a variety of different reasons we don't need to get into here, but I think that's also playing into the line value here. And don't get me wrong, Kay's fought solid opposition throughout her career, especially in Invicta. I think that's where she really cut her teeth, and a lot of people are high on her as a prospect. But I think Jasmine can go in there and be the victor of the spoils here at plus 200. I think this is closer to a 50-50 fight. And typically when I see a fight like this and there's big underdog money here, like in the case of Jasmine at plus 200, I'm definitely going to take a stab at it. And look, I know Jasmine's Canadian. I can maybe be a little biased here, but just seeing what she's been able to do. Her one loss in her career was a split decision loss in CFFC at strawweight against Elise Reed. And that was a fight that a lot of people thought that she won. But guess what? She's looked completely different since moving up to 125. Much better, much more polished. I think Jazz is going to take a decision there. If you want to get even more greedy there, take her by decision. I don't know if she finishes Kay Hansen, but I like Jasmine Jazevidius to get it done for my upset and my bet of the week.
And I do got one I'm going to sneak in. Now, again, I can't really...
Let's
give out a lot because I'm doing the Fight Pass show. So make sure, again, all my bets are available on the UFC Fight Pass. Click on the UFC 270 on the line show and you'll get all of my bets there. But I'm going to do a little side bet, I guess, or a homer bet, as you would call it. Look behind me, baby. I'm going to go with Houday. So this is kind of a cross sport type of situation here. NFL playoffs are this weekend. So I'm just telling you, I'm a homer. And I'm just going to make this a little bit fun. So, I mean, you guys don't have to take me serious out there, but I am going to bet the Bengals because I am a homer. So I'm not telling you there's extreme sharp action or that's a sharp side or whatnot. I'm just telling you that's the side I want to take because I'm a Bengals fan and I hope they move on this weekend too. So just my homer bet of the week is going to be my Cincinnati Bengals, baby.
There you go. 2 homer bets, I guess we could put in a row there, which is great. Thanks everyone to watching today. Make sure, again, you take advantage of the promo code we have, UFC. If you sign up using BetDSI, that's the odds we referred to today, take advantage of that. You get the match deposit bonus, and you also get a signed photo from James Krause. Hopefully you guys can take advantage of that. Also, check out Nick on UFC On The Line. That's on UFC Fight Pass. Nick does a great job on that every single week and get a little bit more detail onto some of the fights we talked about here today. For myself, for James Krause, for Nick Kalikas, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week and enjoy the fights this weekend.